Hello and good morning from a sunny Araxá here in Minas Gerais in Brazil. The opening day of UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup racing of 2025. Heading straight to your eyeballs. We're starting off with the under 23 women. My name's Rick McLaughlin. Joining me in the commentary booth all day, I'm glad to say, Ollie Beckinsale. We're getting ready to go racing here on one of the most talked about tracks in World Cup history. Araxá has it all. What it lacks in length, it makes up for an extremely technical ride and high speed descending, big jumps, long bursting climbs. On the 23 women, we've seen a lot of the big names from last season, Ollie, move up into the elite class. So there's a real opportunity this year for those who want to make it their own. Yeah, we see Kira Bom, obviously the favourite, winning last year overall, so moving up into elite, a really successful debut yesterday in the short track. We haven't seen it. Yeah, it's always that opportunity for new blood to come through. But I mean, world champion Isabella Hongrren, Little Trek, is on the start line today, and a convincing win yesterday in the short track. So it'll be a mixed bag today, I think, and you never know quite how it's going to pan out. Well, taken to the front row then, the Italian national champion for Canyon Collective, Valentina Corvi. Corvi, one of those left behind, really, from the top tier of podium riders of last season. Still another year or so to race in the under-23s. Ella McPhee, likewise, for Villiers Vittoria. But it's interesting, we've seen this before, you know. I'm thinking of Ginia Kaluri, that we started last season going, she's the queen-elect, really, and it didn't really work out for her that way. So Ellen McLean-Howell, young British rider, picked up a factory ride from Cube this off-season. Yeah, McLean-Howell starting off with a third place yesterday in the short track as well, and it's great to see on a factory ride. And when you come into a place like Brazil and Araxá, having that support, the mechanics, the physio, the setup makes such a huge difference. It's amazing, that guy's got the same wrestling mask that you have. Katarina Sadnik then from Austria, riding for KTM. You would need an actual KTM to get me around this course. It's definitely going to be a big test today. Things heating up here as well. Yeah, sun's out and it rained quite a bit, and so there's, you know, it's relatively humid, about 50% today, so not super, but it does make a big difference in cooling down. And if you go into the red, then you're going to be in trouble. Here we have the class off the field in the short track yesterday. Isabella Holmgren ended up off the start line, swallowed up by the pack, but she came through the traffic like an absolute rapier. Yeah, superstar. Yeah. Really one of the new generation of multi-format racers. Doesn't matter what bike she's on. Holmgren is a force to be reckoned with. Interesting to see how she goes through the jumps and technical section today. Wouldn't have been her forte last season, but times and people change. As we get ready to go under starters orders here. Immediate, clear the grid. Here's your start list. Holmgren, Sadnik, McLean-Howell, McPhee, Corvi, Jacobs, Laforce, Hahn, Flores, Garcia. Carla Hahn could be a good rider for today as well. Yeah, technically really strong as well. Olivia Onesti, we expected more from her yesterday in the short track. The longer format may just be a more palatable cup of tea as we get ready to go under starters orders here in Araxá. A long day of cross-country Olympic racing, getting ready to go here at the Whoop UCI Mountain Bike World Series. The UCI Mountain Bike Cross-Country Olympic World Cup, the first one of 2025, is underway. Under 23 women, and it's Carla Hahn for KMC Ridley in the green jersey making a break for it up front. Yeah, Orla Laforce as well, the Norwegian as well. Good start. She got the whole shot into this first bend. So there's your confirmation, 20 degrees Celsius already today, 72% humidity. And that humidity is a huge factor. It just stops the ability for the body to sweat and cool down.
If you just go one lap too hard, get a bit too hot, you just don't cool down as quick as you would if that was like 20-30%.
Really interesting point made to us over breakfast this morning as Carlahan strides away from the pack. Really, really hot out the traps. There's Hongrren, 4th or 5th wheel. Yeah, Phil Dixon making the point to us that, you know, we're here for 2 weeks, 4 races to open up the UCI Cross Country World Cup season, and each race will get faster as rider bodies naturally adjust to the ambient temperatures, the humidity. And
there is some advantages if riders have come from hotter environments. You know, we were talking about South Africa with Tyler Jacobs, and if you spend a winter down there or with summer, it makes such a big difference. You know, with Ellen McLean-Howell, a bit of time in Spain and Andorra, but you're not going to get these 20s, 30s temperatures.
Carlahan, the rider up front at the minute, as I say, has made the switch to KMC Ridley MTB Racing Team, the team masterminded by the one and only Bart Brenchens, and certainly seems to be suiting her. Sort of fits and starts from her last season. You can sort of get the feeling that there's a big rider in there that hasn't got out yet, but it's carnage through here, Ollie.
So this corner here, we come on the flap, it's 25% gradient on this one, and with roots, and it's a little bit slippery this morning, still a bit of kind of dew on the ground. This surface has this kind of moss on the top. You just go slightly off, and you have a steep climb, another steep climb, and then this big hit to the top before you get a bit of recovery. But yeah, Carlahan going at it. Han
and Corvey lead the way currently, and what is the mindset here? I mean, similar, we see it in road racing when the rider on screen now, Isabella Holmgren, the likes of Tadej Pogacar, you know, on the road. If you've got a rider of that capability in the group, what are the mental tactics? How do you want to play this one if you're Carlahan?
So Carlahan, I've seen her practicing on the course, was really capable on the descents, and this course is a real balance between physical and technical. You see the descents that are coming up soon, really, really tough. And I think Holmgren, her weak spot, technically, she's okay, but she's not the best. So I think I would get to the top first, put her under pressure from the get-go. What you don't want to do is have her with you at the bottom of the hill. If that happens, you're probably going to get dropped.
Here we go. We see the pile-up ensuing, and the elite riders will be taking note of this, Ollie.
Yeah, we saw it last year in the women's race, particularly Hayley Batten getting a gap here just because of this snarl up on the corner. But obviously the cameras like flatten things out a little bit. 25%, 1 in 4 on that corner.
There is Holmgren just rolling through our shots now. We interviewed her earlier in the week, told us that she was there's a ridiculous schedule whenever you go through what she is racing this year and what, you know, on the road, off the road, back on the mountain bike, and says that this place will be one of the biggest tests of her year because it features a lot of extremely technical mountain biking, the descents, the jumps.
Yeah, and we saw Mont Saint Anne in the final last year. That was that was her kryptonite. She had a big crash and a big over the bars, didn't finish that race, and that was the one which, if you finish the race like that, it's always a bit of a tough one.
This is a really, really punishing section, of course, this route section. It used to be straight ahead, and now it's a 180-degree bend, as you can see. A lot of riders going for the run on the inside. You see Olivia Onesti just getting clipped back in the top of your screen in the French National Champions jersey. If you get that right, cyclocrossy skills.
I don't think it's a bad shout jumping off just quick and running those routes. They're really big but quite spaced apart, so there is a bit of space for the feet and to be able to run through a little bit. But you know, it's a really tight, and if anyone can ride that, I mean, you see in the elites later, if people can ride that inside line, there's seconds to be taken there.
So as it stands then, Carlahan leads from Valentina Corvey, from Isabella Holmgren. Then it's Oda Laforce, Katarina Sadnik, who was absolutely scintillating in the short track. Sadnik.
I think this is where Carlahan can put a little bit of pressure. If you can still keep Holmgren at bay before the top of the big main descent, I'm pretty sure she'll get a little bit of a gap, and then it turns the tables. It means that Holmgren's got to chase.
I have to say, full kudos to the KMC Ridley squad that really sharpened their tools in terms of the technical riding, the jump section. A very traditional squad, not something that they obviously would have had in the toolbox heading into this race, as we see the bottom of this multi-line climb. But they've obviously worked hard on it in the off-season, and I guess you have to if the first 2 rounds are at this venue.
Yeah, 100%. Everyone's got skills coaches now here. Well, the majority of people have got skills coaches to take them through the lines, and KMC no different, but a load of new silings across men and women.
As they head up to the very top of the course. The first time up this climb. There's Onesti on the BH Paloma team for this season, and really one of the standout riders, the riders in your shot now in 2024, Onesti.
Yeah, an SD second overall last year and second at the Worlds to Hongrren as well. So she's the kind of rider that would be under a lot of pressure here to step up.
Here is that route section, Ollie. Talk us through it.
I mean, it's about as nuts as it gets. These routes are so big, and the gaps, if you don't carry the momentum and speed like we're seeing the Trinity rider here, just get caught up. But it's a long way around on a slightly smooth, but there's no easy option through that.
And then this really fast technical descent. Straight off the top of it.
Yeah, Corby riding that big, the fastest line straight down through the middle, I think, but it's a tough one. But yeah, Hongrren looking good.
Hongrren looking good, but not taking huge chunks out of the two in front of her. But it'll just be a case of as long as she can see them.
Yeah, I think for her it's just a bit of damage limit. She's so strong on the climbs.
Here we go, look
strong.
at this. Hauls them back in up this climb. Holmgren walks past Carla Hahn and has Valentina Corvi now in her crosshairs. Yeah,
Corvi wants to just keep Holmgren just behind to the descent. Try and get, if you can get 5 seconds, that gives her a little bit of buffer before we hit the climb next lap.
It's the second part of the descent, though, that you get the impression will challenge Holmgren. Good job.
Here we go, coming up to the big rock garden section, dropping down A-line for both these riders. Gap jump, another gap jump.
Down the bottom of it and then across this bit into this quite flat berm section, which leads you out then, pointing back towards the Grand Hotel Araxá, where the start-finish area is. But here we go now, this is in the very fast-flowing section.
2 lines, A-line, B-line, Corby on the A-line on the inside, Holmgren on the B. Looking like 5 seconds difference between the two.
Guarantee you that horn coming from the motorbike with the camera on, not the bike of Valentina Corvi.
And Corvi another team change as well. Canyon Collective this year on another factory ride.
Huge talent, Valentina Corvi. Great to see her get that factory ride, and she'll benefit from having Jenny Rispers as a teammate this season
100%.
as well.
But I'm really impressed with Hongrren, obviously going to be working this year. But Hongrren on that descent then. I thought that Corby would take a little bit more out of her, but she's kept her within a good couple of bike lengths. A-lined on the last bit there. There's a huge gap jump which she's able to clear. If you clear that gap jump, you carry a load of speed into that next hard climb.
Over this big gap. I have to say, Ollie, it's so impressive how these riders, everyone now taking on the A-lines basically the whole way around. Last season there was still like 50-50 split really, but look at these two through the jump section.
I think a lot of people turned up in Araxá last year and were a bit shocked, to say the least. You know, it's kind of, you normally get a couple of hard bits, a couple of jumps, but there are probably 20 sections here where you've got to really commit just on one down on a short lap. But I think all these riders would have gone back in the winter and gone, right, got to get down on the dirt jumps, on the BMX bike, on the doubles, and you can see they've all worked super hard, especially Isabella Holmgren. She wasn't riding anywhere near as fast as this last season.
And by double jumps, of course, you mean jumps where the landing is separate to the takeoff.
Yeah, well, and tougher. A tabletop, you've got...
It's definitely tougher,
a margin for error, but with those ones, and there's some on these that are super intimidating. The gap is huge, big, high jumps.
Oh, Valentina Corvi looking over her shoulder. Probably no surprise to see that number 4 bike of Isabella Holmgren still right behind her. This is kind of the sting in the tail of this course now. You do a lap around the side of this lake. It's pretty flat, it's on grass. Anybody who's ever ridden a mountain bike on grass knows that it's pretty thankless work, and after a really technical lap, this is pretty miserable going, and it's where historically we've seen attacks launched as well, isn't it?
And also people crash bizarrely on this course. You've got these crazy rock gardens, big doubles. This virtual Charlie Aldridge decked it last year. Just relaxing, and it's got a bit of grease on the corners.
Hands go soft on the bars.
Yeah, and he just slapped off.
Well, you can see the drone shot now as Hongrren moves past Corvi. A bit of a psychological victory there on the run down to the start finish to complete the first of 6 laps here at the opening UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup of the Year for the under 23 women. Corvi says thanks but no thanks.
At the top of that hill, I would have put money on the fact that Corvi having a gap at this point over Hongrren, but Hongrren descending really well. Clearly works well in the winter on their skills, and Oscar Size, skills coach, manager at Trek as well. You see them all on the course all week, piecing it together.
If you're Valentina Corvi now, the first half of this lap, you just kind of, oh no, that is a disaster for Carla Hahn. Into the tech zone, wheel change, Ollie.
He was sitting in third before that flat tyre, and absolute disaster.
Battle rages behind him in this chasing group, but already a decent gap. So 12 seconds between second place and third, currently the property of Ella McPhee from Canada. Ella McLean-Howell alongside her in fourth for Cube Factory Racing. It's Katarina Sadnik in fifth as things stand at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, Olivia Nesti as well, last year's second place, and on paper the highest ranked overall from last year. Had an awful short track finishing 23rd. That's just given her a little bit of a handicap this first lap, sitting there about 6th at the moment. Corvi doing well so far, just sitting there, and I think it's just a question of hold on tight, I think, in this section, and just try and limit the damage. We just say Hongrren on the climb, so strong, and this will be a big test for Corvi now.
Corvi, though, extremely combative. We've seen her in previous races really have a good go, and she won't be scared of Hongrren, but she'll be aware of the threat here. Slots in front of the UCI World Champion nicely, takes the A-line.
Yeah, there's a bit of mind games going on now as well. You hit that A-line, just get a nose in front, you can just then control the pace a little bit on the next climb, and smart move.
Hongrren, though, with that road racing background, and we saw all last season, she's got an unbelievable cadence. She can just spin a gear.
Oh, just a pure climber, really.
Yeah.
Big long levers, super light. But Nesti's still losing a little bit of time. New team for Nesti this year, BH Colombo team. It's a good shout.
Corvi leads Holmgren up the first half of the climb, so things going according to plan so far. I guess as well, this is psychological, isn't it? This is about staying calm and not panicking if she does get in front of you.
For this climb, although it's in steps, you're on the gas pretty much the whole time. It's about a 3-minute climb from bottom to top. You've got these little surges in power on the steep sections, but even here, you can't relax, recover. It's just slightly uphill the whole time.
It really is one big climb, isn't it, as opposed to 2 shorter ones. The way it links together at race pace. Ella McLean-Howell still in 4th, Sadnik in 5th. So 16 seconds now. The front 2 pulling 4 seconds since the first split on this lap.
But Nesti dropped in 8 seconds between the bottom of the start finish in this first split, so not going her way at the moment.
We saw Olivia Nesti really grow into the season last year. Is that, is that a thing that some riders will just naturally grow into a season as it goes on?
It's a long season this year. So April through till October. We've got 6 months, and we've also got a huge block of races in Europe. So the riders, it's tough to have them be in your peak form. So all the riders will probably float between 85 and 100% during that period. You can't be at 100% and pinning it the whole time. So riders will choose maybe a patch where they want to come in completely hot, and riders where they actually want to come in just a little bit underfoot. And a lot of riders will turn up here.
Corvi just dabbing a foot through the roots now, but doesn't lose too much time. Nicely done.
Corvi riding really strong. If you could just keep Isabella Hongrren and Nicolapis, she's a little bit better on the descent. And then if you can just keep Hongrren at bay on the climb, that will just even out a little bit.
It's going to be enthralling battle this, because Corvi, you'd have to say, naturally, the better descender, Holmgren, the better climber, and this track, it's really one or the other.
Yeah.
So, the boxing match taking shape here. These two set to knock 7 bells out of each other over the course of the next 5 laps.
So the climb has a double top, just peaked up by the old hotel, and we have a drop down now, a couple of doubles, chance for a little bit of recovery, only a tiny bit. Big berm, and then we're into the next really tough climb. And again, it's not just a physical climb, it's technical as well. There's differences with routes, there's rocks. slippery. Corby going for this really, I mean, this is really steep, this inside line. You see there's a kind of slightly slower right to the right, a little bit shallower gradient, but equally as tough technically.
We've run this a couple of mornings now, and unbelievably that drone is not the biggest flying thing up there.
And again, Corby hitting that inside again. Just what's really cool and what shows she's got really good condition and good form today is hitting the steeper sections of the climb. She's not looking for the shallower options. She's just hitting the steep sections every time.
That's just a confidence in your own technical capability, isn't it?
Yeah, and you've got to have the oomph for the power as well, you know. So this course is a real combination between that. You'll keep hitting these peak powers or close to peak powers on the steep sections and then being able to roll and recover. Clean Howell doing a good climb as well. 16 seconds at the moment. Making a good little combo with Ellen McPhee.
Carla Ham, 17th now, after sitting third in the last lap and having to take that front wheel change. I mean, you know, count your blessings where you get them. A front wheel much quicker to change than a rear wheel, of course. This section here, absolutely brutal. And really, if you want a testament to how good modern cross-country race bikes are, it's this really choppy descent down through these woods, and riders can just throw themselves down, it breaks off, bikes will take it.
Hongrren turning the tables now. Bit of a gap on Corby, but Hongrren riding these techie descents. I mean, she's done a lot of homework, I'll tell you, before she's come here.
But this is where Holmgren, this punchy climb after that technical section, see Corby out of the saddle, having to go with her here.
Holmgren putting down the power there, you can see just the heels dropping a little bit more force than the last lap. Ella McPhee teaming up with Ella McLean Howell, making a good little combo, both on factory teams this year, both changes. Cuban Delia Vittoria. And it's great to see how many of the U23 women and U23 men as well gaining places on the real big factory teams for this season.
Holmgren looking like she's trying to pull a disappearing act here on Corby, out of the saddle through the first tech zone, down into the rock section. Oh.
That A-line, big, intimidating. We've got a first big gap jump, then a second one.
This gap here, from the top of that section, looks absolutely huge. The speed will take you over it, but really visually intimidating. But Holmgren making a good fist of these technical sections.
Again, this B-line, so she'll just lose a little bit of time.
Look at the gear, Isabella Holmgren's pushing here. This is ominous.
Looking cool on that World Champs trek with the rainbow band. I don't think there's anything cooler than a bike with world decals on.
Yeah, Evie Richards. She was a bit put out that she didn't have one ready for her after the short track worlds last year, but this season they've gone to town on that track.
They just needed a winter, mate.
Yeah, that was it. Here we go over the big gap jump. And then up this punchy climb where we've seen so much drama here in Araxá. Victor Koretsky in the XCO Elite Men's race last year, and Victor Koretsky again yesterday, actually, in the short track.
So it's the same climb as on the short track race. The advantage they've got in the XC race is they come in with a bit more momentum. They do a big double and then hit the climb, whereas in the XC they've got to kind of create their own momentum. So it's a little bit easier today.
Corby just aero tucking through the jumps. And this is a interesting point that Evie Richards made yesterday after that short track race, was that you can be very, very comfortable on jumps, and that can be fine, but you never go and ride jumps whenever you're 6 laps deep into a cross-country race and the arms are gone and the lactic acid's building.
Yeah, I mean, it's that fatigue. Doing those jumps at the end of the short track is about as tough as it gets. You know, the heart rate is at maximum, and like you say, the fatigue is kicking in. You've just used your legs on the hills. All the blood and all the focus is on your legs, and then you've got to get your arms to get working again. And then what happens is the tendency is to lock the arms a little bit. So it's easier to not move them at all and absorb everything. And that's where you get resistance. You can get bucked off the front, as an example on one of those.
Isabella Hongrren leads here then at the opening round of the UCI Under 23 cross-country Olympic World Cup of the season. Valentina Corvi in second place, refusing to be shaken here. These two made their way to the front early doors and are now 25 seconds clear of the chasing pack, which is currently being led by Canada's Ella McPhee. Really fascinating one shaping up here in the Holmgren. I was going to say an out-and-out climber, but she's not bad on the technical distance either.
Yeah, big improvement from last season.
Corvi has always had that skill set, but looks to have built on her. Just Holmgren gesturing there. Is that for Corvi to take a turn? What was that about, Ollie?
I think she was, just looking for a bit of assistance. I wouldn't be in a rush to go for it if I was Corvi. I'd be sat there just saying, well, you're the best climber, you're the world champ, you can take it on.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be in a rush to give her a turn.
If you've got a custom painted UCI World Champions rainbow bike,
it doesn't.
You're not going to get much help from the rider behind you.
I wouldn't be doing a single bit. 100%.
That jersey goes both ways, I think. You can't just you can't roll off and ask for a bit of help. But I mean, it's working so far. It's actually 37 seconds now after the last split. So maybe Holmgren. We did see this from Corvi a couple of times last season in Crom Montana. You're shaking your finger here. This is a mistake for you.
Yeah, no way. No way should you be at the front along the end. Wrong. So they're moving quickly. This is the only part of the course when you can get some recovery and sit behind someone. And I think knowing that I've got the world champion with me, who's known as the best climber in the field, I would have just had that opportunity to just have a little drink and then just try and hold on. And we were going to see Corvi's going to drag Holmgren all the way to the bottom of the climb, and then I'll put money that Holmgren will attack us straight away. So I think I would just sit back and be a bit lazy at that point.
For those watching at home, if you grab the nearest dictionary and look up the meaning of the word incredulous, in it you will find a picture of Ollie's face just as Corvi rolled past. We did see that a couple of times from her last season. I think I remember in Crom Montana where I think we both said that, you know, really, really strong descender, technically fantastic. She didn't have to do the work at the front, and there we go. Nostradamus Beckinsale. I nearly called you Nosferatu Beckinsale there for a second.
But you want to keep Holmgren. Well, the better way I think that Corvi could have run it was just sat behind. The lap before, she did a good job. She cut up the inside, used her tech skill just to get in front, and then it meant she could control the pace and just set her own tempo and keep Holmgren behind her on these steeper tech. And
obviously, I've never ridden at this level, but there's a psychological war to win there as well, isn't it? You're frustrating the world champion. You're not coming to help. You're not doing what they've asked, and you're just sat behind them. And
you've got to put her under pressure a little bit today. She's 100% the favourite for this race. So I think it's up to her to take it on, and you've just got to put her under pressure and attack her into the areas where you think you're weaker, not help her out on the areas where you could work together.
Well, Ella McPhee and Ella McLean-Howe, the two Ellas working together nicely. 27 seconds now, so they're taking 10 seconds out of them.
But they're keeping it, in a good gap at the moment, working well together, and I think they're quite balanced riders technically and physically, so that's a really good little tandem. And the gap behind them is increasing quite considerably. They're losing a bit of time to the front too, but the gap behind them is going back to nearly, another 30 seconds now, which is fantastic.
And will they feel that as riders? Do you know that this partnership's working well? Is there any verbal communication, or is that just instinct? Mostly
instinct, but maybe the odd little bit of encouragement or working together. And I think that the difference in the riders today, when you start, you've probably got an expectation of where you would like to finish. And I think if you think of Isabella Hongrren, there's only one result. She's world champion. She's won 3-4 races last year. There's only one result. Whereas you think someone like Ella McLean-Howell or McPhee, they probably come in here going, if I can get a top 5 today and open my account, I'll be chuffed with that. So they're going to ride it to suit that goal.
Well, 6 hours of cross-country Olympic racing await us today. My prediction is that you and I will finish a nice couple of Caparinas later on this evening, but really neatly done through there from Holmgren and Corvi.
But Corvi doing great. Just if you can hold on to the top of this climb now, that's peak 1 done, quick descent, and then peak 2.
Just see the shoulders starting to bob and weave a bit from Corvi, a bit more body language, a bit more effort going into the pedals. These two, though, riding back towards them nicely. 28 seconds still.
And for McPhee and McLean-Howe, it's a nice section as it comes round over these techie routes and doubles back, and they can just see the front two. And for that gives you such good motivation that you can keep them in check. Once they're out of sight, you kind of start thinking about just survival, really, and time trialing to the finish. At the moment, you know,
McLean-Howe nearly riding into the side of Ella McPhee there. As we jump on board a live drone to follow them down through this mini descent before the course kicks back up again.
It's great to see Ellen McLean-Howe getting that factory ride on Cube this year. Last year she was supported at the international races by the national team. The British national team doing a great job taking the riders to a number of races already this season. But all national teams have a limited amount of budget and resources. So last year, not able to come to Brazil. McLean-Howe wasn't at these races last year. This year, she's going to be doing a full season with full factory support. And I think we're going to see the benefits of that.
And by full, it looks like Isabella Holmgren having a go up this climb. Corby could be in trouble here on lap 3 out of 6 in Araxá.
Yeah, it just peeks out just round this corner, and then we're into the big descent.
Oh,
but yeah.
And she bobbles and just gets caught up in the course limiter tape. And that is, yep, you can see for yourself, Hongrren all but disappearing here. This is going wrong for Valentina Corby very, very quickly. Now she needs to work hard to get back on.
And that was one of those mistakes that you just make because you've gone over your limit a little bit. You're just not quite thinking straight. Physical effort's taking its toll, and therefore the technical aspects become more difficult.
And this is the first time we have seen Isabella Holmgren by herself in shot for the whole race. There is what the gap looks like. It's 9 seconds on our clock in the booth here. And now Corby is faced with a real problem. She's going to have to ride so hard to get back onto the back of Holmgren and expend so much energy. But Holmgren taking that descent off like it's absolutely nothing. 10 seconds. She's lost another second now.
Yeah, and that main line that both the riders are using straight down the centre, it's really technical.
And this is that climb that Holmgren likes to absolutely monster her way up. Corby out of the saddle, swinging the bars, trying to get back on the back of Isabella Holmgren here.
And if Corby can't close this gap before you get to the flat section, you've got a kilometre of time trial between the two of them.
Is this payback for not helping her on that straight? Holmgren, 10 seconds the difference now. She rolls through the first tech zone, so only technical assistance through that one, no drink or feed. 34 seconds back to Elle McLean-Howe, who's up in third now. McPhee, 39 seconds back. Holmgren.
Yeah, Holmgren really giving it on that climb. And
I know it's easy to kind of run out of superlatives for how good Isabella Holmgren is, but it feels like the one chink in the armour, the technical descendant, seems to have been covered off. Still only halfway in this one though, so plenty of time for dramas yet, especially on a course as full of big rocks and jumps like this one here in Araxá in Brazil.
We see obviously Isabella Holmgren working really hard on her tech skills in the winter, but even if you just look at this week with the skills coach, Oscar ex-DH winner in the World Cup, and working alongside, the other thing is working alongside a rider like Evie Richards that technically has been riding so strong. Working through the course, working through the lines, seeing how they're riding, getting the confidence from them. It makes such a big difference to have that kind of figurehead like Evie to ride with.
Richards telling us earlier in the week that she's loving all the new faces at Trek Factory. Racing Corby, nearly getting sent out the front door there, but look at the commitment. Knew she had to get back on the pedals to regain the speed to get over the big gap jump as she heads up the base of this really punchy climb.
And that gap jump, big. Really big.
It's really big.
Good couple of metres from lip to lip.
Here we go, Corby's errors. Ollie, talk us through them. That was the first one we saw.
Yeah, just bobbling a bit, and I think it's that pressure, maybe just overcooking it on the climb, and this one is definitely just that, a result of just getting put under pressure, trying a bit too hard, and then technically you suffer too.
You just wonder as well, with that little dab off the foot, for a rider as experienced as Isabella Holmgren, there was blood in the water there, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think she was just waiting for that mid-climb to put the pressure on.
If you're a rider as clever as Holmgren, you'll have recognised that mistake as a tell that your opponent's starting to tire slightly, unforced errors creeping in.
Yeah, we but physically, Hongrren is, I mean, world class. I mean, all these riders are world class, but that next level, you get these kind of generational riders that are just that one notch, and you watch them ride and climb, and you just go, you just mesmerised. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a funny phenomenon, isn't it? As we've seen with Tom Pidcock in the past, and the Puck Peterson, another rider that they butterfly around the different series, winning races, but it can actually be quite hard to hook an overall win, an overall title by riding like that.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, we all see it last year as well with Alessandra Keller as well. You've got Pauline Ferrand-Prévot focusing on Olympics only. That's her main priority. Puck Peterson mixing in a little bit of road for the first time last year, missing a race to do Tour of Flanders, for example, and as she is this year. But then you've got the pure mountain bikers, Alessandra Keller, benefiting from that, not winning an XCO race last year, but picking up seconds, thirds.
Valentina Corvi currently holds the fastest lap of the race at a 10-minute 29.2 on her first lap. So let's see if that goes. My guess is that it will from Hongrren in this round. As they come through the tech feed zone, chance to take on some much needed supplies. Hongrren mouth open now, but still looking pretty comfortable. Crosses the line. Let's get an eyeball on the gap. 12 seconds now, so it's gone out by 3 seconds. Alarm bells here for Corvi.
Yeah, fair play for Valentina Corvi taking it on, and Carla Hahn as well, the first instigator of that attack, and not just sitting back and waiting for Hongrren. They were up to hitting the front and putting the pressure on, but I think that Holmgren's tech skills, like we said a number of times now, you can visibly see she's improved from this time last year, and kind of become far more of an all-rounder. And we saw Corvi not being able to gap her on the descents, which I would have put money on before the race.
Let's take a bit of an extended look then at the battle for third. Ella McLean-Howell, currently the faster of the two Ellas. Holmgren out front at the base of the climb already.
So I think Holmgren will be starting to feel more confident, obviously on her own now for the first time in the race on this climb, and I think we can see that. We'll expect that gap to extend a little bit. The thing she's got to be careful is obviously now we're talking about mechanicals, flats. Carla Hahn got taken out on the first lap with a flat tyre. You've only got to get a little bit offline on some of those rock gardens.
Look at the time put in by Holmgren into third spot. Ella McLean-Howell now 49 seconds back, sixth place. Low 130, one back on Nesty, 137. So gives you a clue as to how well this woman on your screen now is riding. Look over the shoulder just to see where Corvi was. Here's that battle for third. So McPhee now into third place.
Yeah, really, really solid ride from both of these riders so far. And holding them only with 47 seconds, 46 seconds, and at halfway they'll be pretty chuffed with that. And a decent gap behind them as well. Talking 30, 40 seconds to the next group.
It's really strung out, this one, hasn't it?
Yeah. Someone like Ella McLean-Howell, fantastic third in the short track yesterday, and I think if she can match that or top 5 in this race, it's a really, really solid start to her season.
Is promising, no. I mean, we're halfway around the first race of the season, but if you're Valentina Corvi and you're racing a rider who will be in and out throughout the year and amongst her road commitments, and you're this far ahead of everyone else, it's not a bad sign.
No, a good start. And if we're talking, we're probably aware that Isabella Hongrren will be mixing up disciplines. There might be an opportunity if she's not there. Not saying she's unbeatable, but she's going to be hard to beat, I think. And being able to pick up a win if she's decided to go for a road race. And then also as well, there's that big overall title.
Can we just talk about that, Villiers? I am a massive fan of the silverback end on it. That is very old school. Yeah, I like that. I'm into it. You looked at me there as if I just
not my bag, mate.
No, right, okay, cool. Look at it, it's good. Ahead of the Cube Factory racing machine at the minute of Ella McPhee.
And just to confuse me, confuse everybody else. We've got a mix-up of jerseys as well. Some of the national champions coming in. Corvi, the Italian champion. So instead of in that light green, she's got the Italian national team jersey on.
So in mountain biking, as in the rest of cycling, you can wear your national champs jersey for the format that you've won the title in only. So, for example, if you're the cross-country Olympic title holder, but not the cross-country short track, you'll wear it in the cross-country Olympic, and then you'll race in your team colours in the shorter format.
And then we see Ella McLean-Howell in the British national champs top.
You see Corvi just knocking her seat post down there, getting out of her way for this route section.
These gaps just extending as Hongrren just puts the power on.
Ella McPhee, the rider in third place then on the blue Villiers bike. Here at the opening round of the UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup for the under-23 women. Just ahead of Great Britain and Cube Factory Racing's Ella McLean-Howell. Very little to choose between these two. Both of them very, very highly rated early doors in their careers, and both of them now on factory teams. And what will the actual, there you see the top 10 fastest laps, Corvi and Holmgren matched on 10:29s, lap 1. Dominating the top 5, top 6 fastest laps of the race, that pair.
Yeah, whipping round 10:30 lap times. So by the time we get to the elite women later, probably dipping just below 10 minutes, I would guess.
So we mentioned the two Ellas in our picture now, both on factory teams. Ollie, what are the practical benefits of that compared to being here with a federation or off your own wallet?
So I think the main thing is the support off the bike.
Oh, Corvi!
Yeah, and she's going to have to be careful because the McLean-Howell, the two Ellas coming up from behind.
The Ella train's coming. Meanwhile, the Holmgren bullet train has long disappeared. Out front, after that bobble, it will be a lot bigger lead. 28 seconds now for Holmgren.
But that midline as well, the perspective you show it, just if you look at it from the top, all bits of, there's no flat section, it's all off camber. We got the moss, the logs down there, the rocks.
Hopefully we'll see that one again. We take a look at where it went wrong for Corvi.
I think just that fastest lap of the race is starting to take its toll.
Well, looks like she's regrouped well, Corvi, but that mistake will have cost her.
But that's promising, still full of fight out the saddle. You generally find if riders are starting fatiguing a little bit much, they're probably more likely to just sit down and spin it out.
Ollie, how difficult is it as a rider if you've been at the front of the race setting fastest laps and then it catches up with you and you start making mistakes like that on climbs? Psychologically and physically, how difficult is it to put behind you?
I mean, XC racing is a big mental game. So you're sitting there at about your threshold, you're trying to even out the pace. There's one part of your body that's saying, stop doing this is stupid. Then there's another part of your body that's saying, crack on the competitive side. And actually, depending on the morale you're in and how well the race is going, you'll flip between the two. And it's amazing. You can be on a forest road, see a rider in front, and then the morale's good, and you dig in. You can be going the same speed and the same physical state, and somebody comes past you, and your head drops. And it's just such a mental difference, and the morale is huge. And this is where we see McPhee and McLean-Howell. They've got the upper hand at the moment. Corvi making mistakes, 27 seconds. 44 seconds to the two Ellas, and they'll be flying back through. If they see them and they see that Corvi's coming back, instantly they're thinking, right, this is now a podium for the pair of us rather than a third and a fourth. They're not fighting for a podium, they'd both be on it.
McLean-Howell just having to pull up on the bars there to make that backside of that jump. Does so nicely.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 sections down here. They've laid out some really big old logs, and actually clearing those, you need momentum, you need speed, and if you don't decide to take that line, you're losing 5 seconds every time.
27 seconds then, the gap back to Corby. Corby's made a second back, but it's a long way back to the back wheel of that trek of Isabella Hongrren from where she is at the minute. That big gap jump. 19 seconds off this group from Corby, so she does have a bit of a safety blanket, but it's not much when mistakes start creeping in on a course as fast as this.
And then as you come down, we've got these two riders will be able to work together a little bit on that long flat section, whereas Corby's just going to be on her own the entire time, and once they get her in her sight, then that's trouble.
Did you see the average speed from the short track yesterday?
33, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Richards 27, nearly 28 kilometers per hour average speed. Yeah. Absolutely.
When you see the riders with aero socks and aero helmets, you know it's on.
And it's not just a mates group ride. That stuff does make a difference at this level.
Yeah, full aero kicking in now in the short track. But today it's less about the aero, more about being able to stay cool.
I've not seen a lot of ice being passed out, or cooling dump bottles getting poured over people, or it seems that these...
There was a few ice vests in the warm-up area trying to keep the core body temperature down. And
I think we'll see a lot more of that sort of shenanigans as the day wears on. Getting hotter and hotter here in Araxá. It was warm but overcast yesterday, but today is old-fashioned hot. Blue sky, not a cloud in it. And actually, although we've had rain most afternoons here in the Minas Gerais region of Brazil, it's helped the track, hasn't it?
Yes, 100%.
It's got its daily watering and then solidified again in the heat. And you can just see some water dripping from the right hand of Isabella Hongrren, so I wonder if there has been a dump bottle or a bit of cooling applied to the UCI World Champion as she crossed the line, heads out onto the penultimate lap. Let's get an update on the gap to second place, and it was 25 seconds back to Corby. What's it going to be as she crosses the line now, the Italian national champion?
Corby, I mean, fair play for her to taking it on and not just letting Hongrren have it all her own way, but that's going to pay off a bit.
She's added 2 seconds to it, 27 seconds now. This woman, Isabella Hongrren, so the big effort's been made, some unforced errors from Corby. We've seen Hongrren do this, haven't we? Death by 1,000 cuts, but these two still welded together, and this is where a partnership is going to turn into a rivalry.
Yeah, we're not quite there. I'd probably leave it. That'll be a last lap fight. I think the pair of them, they've got a really good little partnership going on, and Ella McPhail and McLean Howard as well, that they won't be fighting yet. They'll be working together. They're most concerned, I think, there'll be a union to get Corby first.
Here we go. Let's see. That's where that moisture came from. Isabella Hongrren missing a bottle. And Ollie, on a day as hot as this, humidity as hot as this, how important is hydration, of course? Massive thing.
And it's thing like missing a bottle like that. I mean, normally, if you got it dialed, you might have somebody giving bottles from one team at the start and then a bit further along, but it's a short lap, so you can get away with it. But if you've just finished your water bottle and you think, well, that bottle is going to be around the back of my neck, help keep my core temperature low, and you miss it, mentally, it's horrible. You just feel like you're looking forward to it for about the last 5 minutes.
It's the first beer on a Friday night, isn't it?
And then to bounce out your hand. It's it's not cool. But right now, their core body temperatures will be floating really high. We did some experiments once when I was racing with some sensors mid-race, getting close, 39, nearly 40 degrees in a couple of races. That's flu, you know. So
top 10 riders on lap 4, fastest laps. Ella McPhee leading that one. So the two Ellas still working well together. Do you think? I mean, maybe grasping at straws a bit. Do you think we might see that swing back towards Corvey? Any benefit to her from Hongrren missing that bottle? I mean, it's a long shot.
No, I think Hongrren, she looks comfortable, she comes through, she's not at her peak, I don't think, in terms of heat or extreme, but this is the battle we're going to see. More about Tuala's catching Corvey. I think that's going to be the real fight in this next lap.
Yeah, 17 seconds on our screens. It looks closer on camera, but I mean, we talked about this a lot last year, but just run us through it again. The psychological benefits of being able to see a rider you're chasing versus them being absent.
When I was racing, if you had a gap, I'd sometimes increase the pace on purpose to get round a corner and then recover. You know, you're just keeping out of sight mentally. It's a massive difference.
If you're Valentina Corvey, is there any benefit to being caught by this group? Can the three of you work together to try and bring Holmgren in, or
no,
is it more beneficial, do you mean, to fall back into that group, recharge a bit, and then battle it out for second?
I think they're into fighting for second now. Without the negative side of it, I think the thing that's only going to keep Holmgren out now is a technical, and on this type of course, that's not unlikely. But yeah, with Corvey, McPhee and McLean-Howell, I think that actually Corvey's just going to try and keep them at bay, but my guess would be that they're going to come back and make a threesome on this last lap.
And this is where you see where the class of the field really earn their money. This deep into a race, just still picking her way perfectly through that technical line. And
it seems to be McPhee is the rider that's generally at the front in this pair now and just pushing on. I think McLean-Howell is the one that's just hanging a little bit.
You can see it's always a telltale sign in cross-country racing when the shoulders start moving a bit, the head starts nodding a bit, and that sort of body language of fatigue setting in. Absolutely none of it on show in this shot, though. Isabella Holmgren is just ticking off the sections now. You always talk about it, Ollie. They break the lap into parts, don't they? 100%. And just tick, tick, tick.
You get to this last third and you're like, right, 5 climbs to go, 4 climbs to go, and you're just ticking them off. And the same with the dodgy technical sections. There's that one where you think, this is the one that I could get a flat, and you just get through it and you're just ticking that off as well. Trying to keep smooth, stay cool, not make mistakes.
Holmgren still riding all the A-lines.
Yep. It's so easy in a mountain bike race to overcommit to the first third of the race, and it feels natural to go that fast, but then hemorrhage loads of times in the last third, making silly mistakes. And we see Corvey doing that a little bit today. Fastest lap time, and then making mistakes on climbs and throwing away 5-6 seconds here and there.
34 seconds now, the gap between first and second between Isabella Holmgren and this woman on your screen now, the Italian national champion, Canyon Collective's Valentina Corvey.
But a good sign that she's hitting this A-line means you've still got good power.
And this is it now. The battle for second place is about to come alive in front of our eyes as the two Ellas, Ella McPhee and Ella McLean-Howell, have made their way back to second place in Valentina Corvey. And this race's complexion is about to change altogether. We're going to be treated to a battle here.
But it's McPhee is looking the strongest out of this three at the moment, really pushing the place. McLean-Howell just having to hang in there at the moment.
If you're Corvey, what are the tactics now?
Deep breath, big drink, and then hold on.
I think she's probably doing the first one already. But yeah, McPhee looking really strong here on that Villiers.
McPhee's got the momentum out of these three at the moment.
If you're McLean-Howell, are you just hoping that Corvey and McPhee maybe get tangled up together, slow each other down a bit? You've got a chance to recover.
I think McLean-Howell as well, and you think her best race last year was a 5th position. You go, well, actually, if I could better that, and a 4th at the moment, I think she'll be happy to be sitting in that place.
Also, a shout to the Trek mechanics. How well does that bike look like it's working through that choppy section?
Yeah. Super balanced, and it's that one section we've got the big features, the big gap jumps, but that line down the middle, the chance of error and having that bike balanced and set up is really important. This middle line is not easy.
So what we mean by that is you can look at how well the suspension fork, the rear end of the bike is moving through that chop and just reducing the amount of energy going into the rider, allowing them to concentrate on doing their job. And these bikes, Ollie, relatively short travel suspension. As we see this battle for second place,
but that was a really good example then of Corvey taking the straight line through the A, the other two riders on the B line, and it ended up about 5 or 6 bike lengths difference. But then on the next climb, to close that gap, you just got to push that little bit harder, a bit more watts to the pedals.
Yeah, not much suspension travel to play with as we see a replay of this. Talk us through it.
Yeah, we see Corvée super technically confident, smashing it down the middle. At the top of this, they were all in one line. By the time you get to the bottom, Corvé's pulled 5 bike lengths just from taking one line on one bit of the course.
Corvée on the SRAM flight attendant equipped bike that has that electronic suspension. Bike can adjust itself automatically. The Fox Superlight U34 fork, the orange fork on the bikes of the two Ellas behind her. Oh, McLean Howell having to do a bit of avoidance there.
But on this circuit, if you're technically better, you can just gain a couple of seconds here, a couple of seconds there, and it might not be that it's going to be huge differences, like almost unnoticeable, but the energy you're saving is massive.
Can this be positive psychologically for Corvée as well, in that she's been watching Hongrren disappear up the road from her for a few laps now? All of a sudden, she's back in a bike race.
Yeah, if Corvée can mentally get straight back into this from being dropped, to then get straight back into fighting for these guys, that's an impressive
Just because
ride.
she doesn't have the legs to go with Isabella Holmgren doesn't mean she hasn't got enough left in the tank to battle the two Ellas.
100%. But this is like we talked about before, that mental game. You've just been dropped and you're feeling a little hot and a bit beaten up, to then switch back into having a fight for second and third. That mental switch is easier said than done, but she's doing a fantastic job at it.
Yeah, she's put a couple of bike lengths into them through that descent. It's still McLean Howell in fourth. As we look at it third on your screen now, the gap back to the leader, 35 seconds, so it looks like these three are picking up the pace together. Holmgren isn't riding off with it like we've seen her in the past. Lap 5 out of 6 here in Araxá, the first UCI cross-country Olympic World Cup race day of the year.
That was cool, and you saw McLean Howell between two jump sections. She just sat down, rested her legs, you could see this huge deep breath, and was like, right, I've just given myself a tiny minute again there, just having these little bits of recovery.
We talked last season with Sam Gaze about this, didn't we, a lot, the Albison de Koenig racer, of these micro recoveries that may only be half a breath, but if you do enough of them, they add up.
And you see riders just before a corner, they come in, if it's a tight corner, instead of hammering into the corner, dropping the brakes and then turning, sometimes they just stop pedaling for 2 seconds and just freewheel, and it's that little 2 seconds that give you that bit of recovery.
But again, that's where good bike skills come into play, isn't it? Because you know that you're not going to lose speed in the corner itself, so you can afford to take a breath. Tell you what though, Corvée now scampering away from these two, so maybe we're right, maybe this was enough to relight the boiler a wee bit.
But again, that mental table turn, she got a gap by riding that A-line down the Redbull section. Now just go, well, actually, not done yet.
They've brought it back to her just as we say that. This part of the course just so... It's so tough in a very, very different way from the rest of it.
Yeah, it's the last thing you need. You just want to hit the tarmac and get... That tarmac is a nice respite. You can come through, get a bottle, if you can take it.
Yeah, if you can get it in
if
your
you
hand.
can hold it.
Yeah. Hongrren heads out onto the final lap. She's been pitch perfect so far in this race. 0 mistakes from Isabella Hongrren so far here in Araxá. 1 lap away from opening her account for the season. Meanwhile, behind her, battle rages. Pick a winner out of this three. Ella McPhee now rolls into second place for the first time in this race.
So right now, I'd be rolling to the back of this one. Just having a bit of a break mentally, physically. And you see the difference in the effort. Ella McPhee tucking down, middle of the bars, trying to get a bit more aerodynamic. But at this speed, there's benefits from being where McLean Howell is on the back. You're going to save quite a chunk of energy. Less power required to sit there, so that's exactly where I would be. And just mentally at the moment going, right, last lap, you've got 3 climbs really to get to the top. And you just want to mentally prepare yourself now for a big scrap.
McPhee, fastest lap, 10:54.3 on the last one. Fastest, on that lap. You see Holmgren rolled off slightly by her standards, so these three definitely racing.
Yeah, and that was that lap where McPhee could see Corvey in advance, and that just gave her that little push to move forward. That's 10 seconds faster.
I mean, you can look at that two ways, can't you? That McPhee's the strongest, or you can look at it, has she pushed too hard, too late, too early?
It's all about evening out the effort. The fastest way in a mountain bike race from A to B is consistent laps. You want to just be like metronomic, just bang out lap after lap. If that first lap's too hard, it will always bite you in the arse on the last lap.
Lap 6 out of 6 here in Araxá, Brazil. First 2 rounds of this season coming to you from a track that is really revolutionising cross-country racing.
Place your bets now.
Oh, okay, place my bets. Do you know what? I am going to go for Valentina Corvey.
McPhee.
Right, okay.
Sorry, McLean Howell.
Ollie Beckinsale voting with his passport. But I just think Corvey's a fighter. She's a scrapper, and I just think it might win out. They are circulating it almost exactly the same pace as the leader, Isabella Hongrren, these three. So Hongrren now 38 seconds to the good.
And Nesti now sitting there with Todd Jefferson, 5th and 6th place, but Nesti 2 minutes back, and I think that's a bit of a shock for me.
Yeah, we did sort of theorise at the start of this one that she tended to grow her way into the season last year on Nesti, and really an old-fashioned climber in the traditional sense. You know, very compact, very slight build. Oh, the unmistakable sound of gears being asked for late in the day there.
That's the fatigue kicking in. Instead of just backing off a little bit and rolling into momentum, just getting a bit too close to McPhee, and have to change gear on the climb, which is less than ideal.
Never mechanically optimal. We all do it.
This climb up to the hotel, this gets a little bit steeper, a little bit tougher, and you can see just that gap just starting to appear to McLean Howell.
But McLean Howell, the rider, in 4th as we look at it further on your screen now. The British rider, so good on the technical descending as well. She needs to stay with these two in front of her, then duke it out on the way back down towards the Grand Hotel Araxá.
McPhee just there, just squeezing as we come out that corner. This is where we see.
You can see McLean Howell having to just spin a gear here to stay with them. McPhee looking the strongest up the climb, but it's a course of 2 halves. McLean Howell going for that inside line, and then the run, and takes 2 riders nearly with, but then she's just Corvey. She gets past Corvey, then rolls back past her again. But Ollie, you lose time clipping back in,
but not that much. Back on the back.
Oh, Corvey off and blocks McLean Howell. McLean Howell has to unclip. Could that be the distance McPhee needs to make it home in 2nd place at the opening UCI World Cup of the race? These two, the battle for 3rd place, getting hung up.
Oh, and I could feel the pain. I could feel my hamstrings cramping at that point. I'm not even going anywhere.
Corvey and McLean Howell, and there is a gap back to McPhee, which she will sense, Ollie. It'll be quieter behind her all of a sudden now.
Drop down here, hit the big berm, carry some speed. You won't hear anyone behind you changing gear. You know you've got a gap. These
3 really well matched in terms of descending speed as well, so that could be Ella McPhee's ticket to the podium, but there's a lot of track left in front of her.
Corvey's not done yet, but that's a proper gap for this stage in the race.
But I've said it before, Corvey's a fighter. We often see her at her very best when her back's against the wall, so last lap here in Araxá. Can Valentina Corvey or Ella McLean Howell, the rider in your picture at the minute, overtake this woman, Ella McPhee, for 2nd place leader, Isabella Hongrren, well up the road now, 28 seconds. But they are coming back towards her, so Hongrren racing clever, taking it steady away on this final lap. No mistakes, not risking anything. These 3 have it all to risk.
And Ella McPhee, her best results last year, 5th in the final 2 races, so this will be a PB.
Here's Hongrren, already on that descent. And And as you say, Ollie, just ticking the sections off now.
It's a tough line through there, and she's super smooth, quite stable.
You could be looking at the second or third lap in from Hongrren there.
Yeah, she's got this well under control.
Absolutely huge bandwidth of abilities and stamina. UCI world champion.
You see that fight behind. It's just that gap's went from 38, 28 now. Not a concern, but it just shows us the fight and the ferocity of that three-way grab.
I mean, we've seen it on their 23 racing in the past. Riders throw it away in the last lap by continuing to push whenever, because they know there's more in the tank and they can push harder, and not necessary as the drone looks for that battle for second place. Ella McPhee now charging up one of the last climbs on the track. Then it's Corvey. Corvey still looking strong.
McLean-Howell not done yet either. Yeah, great race from these three.
It's a tough one from McLean-Howell though, isn't it? You just get the sense that she needs to somehow rally. You can hear Corvey just locking up on the way into there. McLean-Howell rockets around that corner. Carries massively more speed than the Italian in front of her. So as the course begins to dip back down, it will play back into the British rider's favour. Oh. McPhee sets that Villiers down through the gaps for the last time. This is it, one last run through these two gap jumps. McLean-Howell, nicely done, opens the corner up, pedals round the second one, and there is a visual on the gap between third and fourth.
There's far from done yet.
McPhee nearly out the front door. Still pushing a big gear in between those jumps to ensure she has the speed to go round it.
Yeah, it's one thing riding these tech features on lap one, but after an hour of racing.
Absolutely superb technical riding as well, Ollie. Yeah. Ella McPhee's body position barely moving through that corner.
Yeah, I mean, you can really see how these riders have worked hard and improved these tech skills. And I say, of this course in Araxá, surprised a few people last year.
Ella McPhee up one of the last climbs on the course in second place. Corvey standing up, machining hard on those pedals, trying to get caught back up to get that second place that she held for so long in this race.
And that mistake on the climb, I think, did it for McLean-Howell. She just got stalled and just didn't have that energy left to close the gap.
Beginning to look like she's settling for fourth place, Ella McLean-Howell, as we look at second place. Ella McPhee through that jump line. Corvey's coming though, you know. Corvey pushing hard.
Still a load of fight.
As we jump in behind McLean-Howell. She heads over the bridge for the last time. Last lap here at the first round of the UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup for the under-23 women in Araxá. There's your leader, the class of the field, Isabella Hongrren, the UCI World Champion, has turned up and done a job of work here today. 23 seconds gives you an idea of how hard Ella McPhee's pushing to get that second place behind her. Hongrren heads on to the tarmac for the last time. No need to go into the tech feed zone. The fish is in the boat. The job is done. Isabella Hongrren brings her custom painted UCI World Champions Trek race bike home. First race of the year for the first win of the year. Unstoppable, irresistible, Isabella Hongrren gets the job done in Araxá in some style. If there was a mistake in there, we didn't see it, Ollie.
No, start to finish. Sat there and used the other riders just to set the pace early on. Got into a rhythm, no risks, but on the descent.
And here we are, Ella McPhee takes second place. What a last lap and a half from the Canadian. Valentina Corvey, second place for so long, will be on the podium in third. didn't stay down, refused to be beaten. Home in third place, Corvey. Behind her, fourth place, a great start to the year for Ella McLean-Hoyle. Just reward for Cube Factory Racing's investment in her as an athlete. Big ride from Ella McLean-Hoyle, that.
Yeah, massive ride, and what a scrap from those three. Great racing. Fair play, Valentina Corvey, not scared to take it on, and that was a risk to go at it. She could have just gone, well, actually, I'm just going to race for second or third.
Really, really fascinating stuff when you think about this one over the length of a season as well. As we say, Isabella Holmgren does have commitments on the road, mightn't be at every single round. The other two riders on the podium alongside her most definitely will be. These two on your screen now, so...
Yeah, Valentina Corvey, 7th overall in this category last year, so jumping up to a third today, sorry.
Do you know what? We said this one mightn't have been for her, but Olivia Onesti, superb ride. She was well outside the top 10 for the first half of the race, but has come back through like a hot knife through butter. 5th place for the French woman. Tell you what, the BH Coloma team will be happy with that ride as well.
Like I say, Onesti's super strong climber, technically well, we haven't seen her so much today, but last year a little bit weaker.
We didn't see her on a full suspension bike that often.
No.
Bike might be helping her along with that one behind her. Tyler Jacobs, 6th place. And you know, off a front row start, not bad at all for Live Factory Racing for the South African.
Yep, no, a solid race. And again, there's part of it, we said before, it's a long season. It's not all about coming in here hot. Some of the riders will build up. We got a World Championships a long way away.
Marine Lowe, also Live Factory Racing, home in 7th. Good start to the campaign for Liv. Eighth place will go to the rider on your screen now, Makina Kellerman. The American. Sarah Cortinovis.
Yeah, Kellerman, her best result last year, 27th, so 27th to an 8th. Good jump.
Not bad. Cortinovis, Ghost Factory Racing, new recruit by them. Vinja Lip, Ghost Factory Racing as well. Good to see the big teams, as you said, Ollie, putting the money into these under-23 riders, giving them the support, but not just the technology and the logistical support, but just giving them a chance to be around those big-name pros all the time and learn from them.
Yeah, essentially something that I didn't have. And, you've massive benefit, like we say, for Isabella Hongrren to be practicing and the jumps alongside someone capable like Evie Richards and how they act off the bike and on the bike as well.
Later on this afternoon, we get to see Ana Santos, who is currently benefiting from being a new teammate of Yolanda Neff. Salvini Morgan, first Brazilian home today, and as you would expect, well welcomed by the crowd here in Araxá. Lisa Christine Jorda, 13th place, Norwegian. There is the Grand Hotel.
Yeah, 33 starters today, so good field.
Good
and I think
field
when we get to Europe, it'll be even bigger again.
Here we go then. This is how the race was won. Isabella Holmgren toyed with Valentina Corvey for 2 or 3 laps, and then Corvey, the unforced errors crept in, but really just for 3/4 of a lap. She sort of got herself back together again, but by that time it was too late. The UCI World Champion, the Canadian, Isabella Holmgren, took the win at round 1. Here are the results. Isabella Holmgren, your winner by 19 seconds, ahead of Ella McPhee, Valentina Corvey, Ella McLean-Hoyle, Olivia Onesti. Jacobs, Lowe, Kellerman, Court Novus lip. Let's hear from your winner, Isabella Hongrren. It's down there now.
Isabella, congratulations. What a way to kickstart your season with a win here in Araxá. And it was calm, cool and collected from you today.
Thank you. Yeah, it didn't feel so calm and cool. I was going so hard out there, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You had a little bit of a battle with Valentina Corvi at the start, but you really managed to pull away in lap 3. In terms of your strategy, what was going through your mind at that point?
Yeah, I think we came through and it said 3 to go, but it was really 4. So I got a little bit confused, but yeah, I was pretty much on the limit with her. So I was just riding, and then I think at one point I realized that I put in a bit of a gap, so I just kept my effort going and then tried to hold on till the end.
You did miss your bottle on lap 4. How much does that impact your hydration plan?
No, that's fine. It's not a big deal at all. We have 2 people there. I can get a bottle at the other end, so it's totally fine, yeah.
And this result is clearly testament to all the work you've been doing in the off-season. How much do you feel that's paid off?
Thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of work to be able to have a good ride, so yeah, I think it's paid off.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you.
No problems whatsoever for Isabella Hongrren. The missed bottle. The only mistake in there. We're going to hear from second place now. A superb Ella McPhee. Absolutely stellar ride from the young Canadian. She's down there with Ashley now.
Ella, congratulations. What a race it was out there. Second position here in Araxá. How do you reflect on that?
Yeah, it's crazy. I still can't really believe it. I've put in so much work for this, but it's a dream come true.
A few battles out there today between yourself, firstly with Ella McLean-Howell. Talk us through that.
Yeah, that was really fun. Ella was riding really strong, and I liked that we just came through as the battle of the Ellas. And it was really fun to work together to bridge up to the next girls.
You were a force to be reckoned with, but you did finally manage to creep into second place at the end of lap 5. What was going through your mind at that point?
I kind of knew that for me, I feel best at the end of the race, so I played that to my strength and I got a little gap and I just went with it.
And how much confidence does this result give you going into this season?
Yeah, it's definitely really cool to see that the hard work's been paying off, and I'm hoping to keep this going strong for the rest of the season.
Well done.
Thank you.
Ella McPhee getting it done at round 1. Being across that gap absolutely perfectly. And congratulated at the finish by her compatriot, Isabella Hongrren. There is the lap comparison graphics. See how hard Valentina Corvi pushed on that first lap of a 10:29, but look at Ella McPhee, 10:33 on the last lap of the race. Let's hear from Corvi now. She's down there now with Ashley Wilmot.
Valentina, what a race that was for you. So much happened, but third place here in Araxá. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I'm so happy about that. I tried to stay with Isabella for the first part of the race, but then her speed was too high for me, and then I waited for the other girls and I played my cards in the last lap. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. It's just the first round of the UCI here, and let's see for the next stages.
There were a few mistakes on lap 4. You did unclip. You didn't lose position though, so how well do you feel like you recovered?
But yeah, I made some mistakes, and then they said, okay, keep concentrate and then try to don't lose position, and yeah, I'm happy.
You mentioned the pressure from the other riders. It was a battle of the Ellas on your tail. How much are you aware of what's going on behind you?
Yeah, I mean, the last lap I said, okay, stay concentrated, don't watch behind you, and it was a really hard fight until the meters, but yeah, let's go.
A great result, though. Well done.
Yeah, happy. So thank you.
Let's go. You get the feeling Valentina Corvi has some grand designs for 2025, yeah. Looks like she is more than up for the fight, the Italian national champion. And as her comfort on that Canyon Collective setup grows, Ollie, you can expect the results to follow.
Yeah, it's cool to get a good start to the season. You're a new team, new bike.
There's the overall then after round one. Hongrren leads McPhee from McLean Howell, from Corvi, Jacobs in 5th. Onesti, Sadnik, Kellerman, Kortinovis and Lip round at the top 10. Marion Lowe of Liv in 13th. Carla Ham back in 16th after getting the whole shot off the line. You do wonder how much that change of front wheel may have affected things for Carla Hahn. As we get ready to head to the podium.
In third place, from the Canyon Collective XCO, Valentina Corvi. Well, this is one definitely.
Valentina Corvi for her new team, Canyon Collective, steps onto the first podium of the season. She'll have been aiming a couple of steps higher, but it's not a bad way to kick things off. And the first cuddly capybara of the day is awarded. Always a big moment, Ollie.
Everyone needs a capybara.
No green backpack on this one, but
I was a bit disappointed.
yeah, I could see there was a bit of capybara sort of.
We can improve on next week.
Yeah. Ella McPhee will get a lot of plaudits, and they're well deserved after that ride. Clever racing as well. She ran that battle for second place to a T.
Really, really smart. But great ride for Corvi as well, taking it on and then recouping, recovering, get back in third.
Here she is, Isabella Holmgren. And I tell you what, rather ominously for anyone taking her on this season, she did really roll off and take it a bit more cautiously that last lap and a half, so it could have been a cricket score, that lead.
The way she got onto that top step of that podium, stepped up, and she still had a bit left in the tank.
Yeah, absolutely superb from the Canadian. Isabella Holmgren takes the win from her compatriot Ella McPhee, and the Italian Valentina Corvi takes third place. Capybaras and smiles all round here at the first round of the UCI Cross Country Olympic World Cup in Araxá for 2025.
Give it up, everybody, for the U23 Women's Podium.
A feast of cycling on offer today. TNT Sports, Discovery Plus. Tour of Flanders going down on the road side of things. 42 kilometres left. We're a women's race as well in Flanders. One of cycling's big days out in Europe, and we're having a pretty sizable one here in South America. Somebody we're looking forward to seeing more of this season, Mathieu van der Poel. Apparently has had a crash early in Flanders, but Kel Surprise, he's made his way back on and is battling with Tadej Pogačar. Who else is in that group? Wout van Aert. Say plenty of cycling today. 3 more races coming your way from the mountain bike side of things, which should prove to be every bit as intriguing. Under 23 men next out of the traps here in Araxá. Then elite women and elite men to follow. But here we see the new red jersey of the overall points leader awarded to Isabella Holmgren. jerseys new for this season. One of us in the commentary booth is getting photos from a beer garden in Flanders and is in no way jealous. Isn't that right, Ollie?
Not jealous at all of my mates having on the old Claremont right now.
You get to hang out with me all day. What could be better?
No, I'd rather be in Araxá.
Isabella Hongrren leads the way from Ella McPhee. Ella McLean Highland third in that overall title chase. Then it's Corvey. Next up, though, we have the under 23 men at 4 o'clock Central European time. You don't want to miss any of today's racing, but under 23 men in Araxá will be a bucket of fireworks with a load of petrol lobbed into it. All to play for here in Brazil. Don't go anywhere. We will bring it all to you live. Plenty more to come from the Grand Hotel.